This is Defacto Review with me, Jargal Tampadarja. We have selected 3 topics for this week out of events happened last week in Mongolia. First topic is Mongolia competitiveness level in the World Competitiveness Report. Second topic is election law is again amended. Third, how much English is important for Mongolia. These are the 3 topics I would like to highlight this time. First, about this World Competitiveness Report for 2022. As you know, there is a World Competitiveness Center in Lausanne, Switzerland, which issues this report for quite some time, since 1989. Mongolia is covered by this report since 2015. And this report is for 2022, as I said. Mongolia had taken 61st rank out of 63 countries. A year before, we were number one space ahead. 1 rank is ahead. Now our total score is 40. Total score is 36.2. A year before it was 40. And the ranking is 16, one of the last ones. 3. After us only Argentina and Venezuela. So this competitiveness report is made by 4 groups. One is first of all, it is economic performance for 2022 in Mongolia. In that section, takes 61st ranking. What was positive in Mongolia? Office rent price, trade index, FDI compared to GDP, long-term unemployment level. These are positively ranked. What kind of indexes are now becoming worse? Current balance, lower income of tourism industry, consumption price index went down, youth unemployment had increased. We have still bad shaping of energy infrastructure, etc. And if GDP was in 2021 minus 5.4, but in 2022 it became 1.4 positive, and current balance from 9.7% now minus 3.4%, a little bit increase. Youth unemployment index is now 21%, which was a year before 15%. The government debt had increased. It was 76%. Then it's 94% have increased. The challenges mentioned in this report are the following. First, big dependence on the import. Second, devaluation of national currency. Third, still the narrow or weaker border issues, the crossing issues of border inspection, customs, etc. Still challenges. The fourth is more social. It's an issue of poverty and unemployment. And the last one is about lower growth of economics and a relatively very slow path of creation of new jobs. These are the 4 points that the report says Mongolia is to pay attention. out of the 63 countries, Denmark, Switzerland, Singapore, getting 1 to 3rd place, almost with 100 scores, in Denmark, for example, etc. And then from the back end, Venezuela, Argentina, and Mongolia. So these are the 63 countries. Well, this competitiveness report is a very nice, correct photo or video of the current state of the economics, competitiveness of the country. And Mongolia is always having either the last one or a one before the last one. So what the issue is now, we should understand and we should correct what is making us into that place all the time. I find the following reasons as a main reason of a lower competitiveness of Mongolia. First, the state is big and spending more than it's earning. The deficit is borrowed, and borrowed in the US dollar, in the foreign currency. And the state is paying their big debt from the bonds with new bonds. That's the process going on. And it started in 2012 when we had issued first large 2 bonds from international market, financial market. The problem is we're borrowing in the US dollar, but what we are earning is in Mongolian tughriks. When the debt keeps increasing, the devaluation of national currency is unavoidable. So people using US dollar not for effective, not for US dollar production, but for personal consumption, luxury, casino, which we could see in the case of a development bank of Mongolia court cases, for example. Parliament member Otun Tuya from the Democratic Party said that the people don't believe now anymore in the state-owned companies. That's what she's saying. And government spending 10 billion MNT. They said that, well, it is for a poverty fight. But this money didn't come to the small and medium enterprises. That's what she is saying. Even she come to the point that there is agriculture support fund, and that money, part of it is not paid back. Some companies even haven't destroyed the documents. They should have a copy in this fund. But actually, it was very badly run fund. So state-owned enterprise keep still going up, their amount. There are some 100 state-owned enterprises in Mongolia. Recently, the cabinet secretary promised to decrease it to 70. They will make a merger and acquisition somehow, but still, because it's not stock companies, it's very hard to make a right merger and acquisition with Mongolian state-owned enterprises. That's the first reason. Second reason why our competitiveness is so slow is too much spending for social care. Not for the target group, for everybody. Children's money or bankrupt pension fund of Mongolia. All this together makes the role of state higher and higher. And the corruption, the other reason. Huge corruption. The current cabinet is fighting seriously, fortunately. But however, many corruption cases are not gone through or not even coming to the court. clear example, TDB owner Irton Bilik case. Since 2019, it's hanging in the court, in the prosecution, and they were never allowing these. Several criminal cases are there, and they never allowing them to come to the court. Probably they wait for next election so that the cabinet is changed. The next reason is a price restriction. Free market economy requires free price. I understand some few prices are restricted. But however, some more than 30 goods prices are restricted in Mongolia. We have a so-called price stabilization program for years. And it gives also 10% under this program, 10% loan were given to producers of meat, flour, and rice, and food. But the prices are never stabilized. For it is, if we stabilize it, only for one season or so. And they now understand very clearly. And the Minister Balogh Choldon, who is the agriculture and light industry, said that now, for example, the agro support fund is never getting paid back. So we will make a state corporation so that it works not as a state fund, but it works as a corporation. But it will be another state-owned enterprise which is working inefficiently. So that's why Mongolian competitiveness is not keeping up. And because, again, in summary, because the debt is paid, foreign debt is paid with foreign debt, another foreign debt, there is no way to have the Mongolian national currency is not devalued. Secondly, because this money is giving the Soma social care, money is given, distributed to everybody without any creation of values, which makes inflation. So these are two reasons why Mongolian companies are staying not competitive. The third reason is too much state-owned enterprises, and they cannot compete with the state-owned enterprises, which never get bankrupt. The ownership, the executives are only mostly politically nominated people. So these are major three problems keep Mongolia in these last places of the World Competitiveness Report. Our second topic is about new amendments of election law. Mongolia keeps amending election law before every election. Only a year before, it should be 360 days before the election comes. So this time again, but this time also it is because we made constitutional amendments recently, which allows now having 126 seats in the parliament instead of current 76. So we are coming to the election next year to elect 126 new parliament members. Maybe some current one will go there, but actually it depends on how much the coal theft public hearing will be happening. When is it happening? So what are the new features of this law, new election law? It says that, for example, the online promotion of a campaign cost will not exceed 15% of total required or total specified costs of a political party. That specified sum was, for example, in the year of 2020, last election, it was 5.6 billion MNT. This estimating their total operational cost during the campaign. For example, they are hiring, they are spending transport, etc. In total cost, the roof was made. This year I do expect this 5.6 billion probably to be under 6 billion MNT. Yet Mongolian political parties are now forbidden to get paid, receive money from the candidates, money, and not necessarily in a monetary term, any collateral, etc. But donation is allowed. Another feature which is different than the draft of the law. There was the people will vote originally was by the names of the political party nominees. There are 48 of them from each political party. But now they change it, no? They will vote for the political party. And for example, say 2.4 million people vote, and 48 seats, then one seat is about 50,000 votes. So if one political party gets 50,000 votes, then that party will have one candidate. If they have 200,000 votes, they will have 4 candidates, for example. It's a very rough estimation. That means also political parties have to issue the list of their candidates, which was not the case before when we had this mixed system of proportional and majoritarian system of votes. And this time they have to because there is a 30% limit or minimum requirement for female candidates in the list of the political parties. And the list will be one by one. Male candidate, female, etc. So that's why the voters would know who are in the list of the party candidates from the beginning. But however, they will vote for political parties. And if a political party gets, say, 200,000, then they will have 4 candidates will be parliament members, and it will be from the top, 1, 2, 3, 4. 2 ladies, 2 men. So the other thing was there was a certain threshold for political parties, 3%, 4% of voters to be. But now it is not the total amount of voters. Now it is those who voted. From those who voted, if you have 4%, then you will have political candidate, your parliament member. But a political party is to put at least 39 constituencies, or we call it circle constituencies, candidates. Smallest party has to put the name of 39 candidates at least. Then to receive at least 4% of those who voted, which makes quite some change. So there will be again, they can be a parliament member who received very substantial small amount of voters vote. However, if it is more than 4% of those who voted. So the political campaign board, usually they have a big board in the street, but however, the political party candidates for particular constituencies, they will have there will be all photos on the same board, on one large same board. Another change is it was before one propagandist, we call it, or one assistant for every 200 voters for a political candidate. Now, no, one is for 400 voters. That means the political candidate can hire many the managers, but in Mongolian language we call it propagandist. However, they will not have salary. They will have only fee or incentives, we call it. And that incentives is to be less than 50% of the minimum required labor price or wage, which is now about 500,000 MNT for 2023. Next year it will be a little bit more. So theoretically they will have not that big money. However, it was one of the channels where people were infusing a lot wrongdoings. Another one change is total printed material of a candidate is to be less than 3 print page. One print page is about, if you take A4 format, then multiplied 8 times. Then that's called one print page. And a total print page is to be less than 3. Meaning that if we had a very thick magazine for a candidate last year, it will be twice less. So this kind of amendments are inside of this new election law. However, what are not changing? To me, it will be again, money will talk election, because we don't have until now the very clear reporting system of political parties' financing. And there were certain cases where the people who has money paying huge sum, it was 2 or 3 billion MNT at last election, it was published in the newspapers, websites, some were saying that even 2.3 billion MNT was given to political parties and to be a candidate for particular constituencies. There is no guarantee that it will not happen because we don't know, we don't have the system that the political party will report that amount of money like a donation of their candidate. Second specific of this election will be ChatGPT will be broadly used. However, it is not like in English ChatGPT. In Mongolian, relatively smaller database. But however, I'm sure that I will be using this ChatGPT. But hopefully, it is in the. It depends on also on who is putting that ChatGPT. But however, it will be definitely used. The third specific is we don't know whether this system is good for Mongolia or not because at least 3 elections should be tested in order to find the right way which suited to a particular nation. So we will wait. We need to wait another 2. This kind of changes, this kind of election system in Mongolia working. The last is we need to see very clear, true, accurate financing revenue and expenses of political parties for the campaign, which is very hard because we don't have that system yet. And the election committee is supposed to do so. But however, election committee is consisting again from those who want to be elected. Like in the UK, we may have an electorate commission where those who is voting are having a seat in that electorate, representing, non-political parties necessarily, no political parties necessarily, but civic society. So these are the features again of the new election law of Mongolia, and 1 year from now we will see how is it working. Our third topic today is how important English is for Mongolia. Because that's exactly the topic the parliamentarians have been discussing, and finally they have taken 3 days break, the ruling party. What happened in Mongolia last week in terms of English? There is a standing committee, education, culture, science, and sport. That standing committee have been discussing that set of laws, education laws, which was being delayed for years. Even the previous government had drafted it, and this current government had taken it back, and they have been working it a lot, spent tons of money for discussions, debates. But now when the time comes to approve, then the big stumbling block turned out to be English language. Why? Because in the draft suggested by the cabinet, there is a provision, 6.6, in which they say that the educational basic foreign language is to be English. That provision caused so much debate for last week, and it was some parliament members who have been educated in English-speaking countries, whose children are very fluent in English, they somehow are opposing this provision to be in the education law. And the argument is why we have to put some foreign languages to be a basic foreign language. Instead, we can put it into this national program. But there is a huge difference. If it is in a law, it's one thing. Because it will oblige everybody to follow. Because today in Mongolia, we have in schools languages to be selected. Russian, Japanese, Korean, German, other languages. But if we put it English, then English will be their first choice. Then other languages will be by their choice, as a second choice. Of course, it is not making not only Mongolia furious about, but also looks like our neighbors as well. So what kind of harm it will bring? According to those who are opposing this provision, they say that it's national sovereignty issue. It is black box policy issue. And many people don't understand why is it to be like this. Because English is the world language already now. Almost 90% of scientific informations are now in English. All countries' scientists write their work in English in order to be recognized worldwide. There is any other language? No, it is de facto English. In fact, English is becoming de facto foreign language in this country. Those who speak, and there are those who do not speak, but however, if they try to communicate inside or outside when they are traveling, people speak now English. And why we should not have our children learning it from year 3 in the school, which will be done anyway, by the way. They are not opposing to teach English from the 3rd grade. The issue is only to put it or not in the law. Instead, we can make it in the national general program, etc. And there are several members are refusing to put into the provision. So what is my take on that? Saying English is, as I said, de facto foreign language already. It's a now issue of only time when all Mongolians will speak English. Private schools are teaching English even from the 1st grade. And by the way, Mongolian private schools with that English teaching earlier, they are creating huge social divide. Now we are dividing our society into 2 camps, with good education and with English or without. Whenever they travel, they speak English. If you want to develop yourself, most databases are in English. Even ChatGPT, which is coming anyway. ChatGPT English quality is much better than, for example, Mongolian. Just because there are only maybe less than 10 million people speak, including Inner Mongolia and Buryat Mongolia, altogether less than 10 million people only speak Mongolian. So our words database are quite less than compared with English and other bigger languages. And plus, it is nothing wrong with children learns well and foreign language. It will not harm at all. Holland and in the Netherlands, the people speak mostly 4 languages. As we know, Switzerland, 4 languages. So that's why speaking more and more languages, foreign languages, would be only plus, only positive phenomena for the country. If they are afraid of the sovereignty, exactly the opposite. English is a guarantee of that sovereignty, to me. So why is it so important to have or not to have in the law that provision? Because if it's in the law, it is very hard to change it. If it is in the law, then everybody will assume that this is an English-speaking, foreign language country. And it directs all educational institutions into one focused language. And it will make our business better, easier. Even with our neighbors. Now, very little people speak Russian anyway. It's only my generation people who studied in Russia speak. So now all the de facto things are happening now with Russian is almost in English, with Chinese too. And plus, the foreign businesses, if the foreign negotiations goes in English, it's easier to have other provisions, including in case of disputes. In English, this system is much better worked out. So at the end, Mongolia can be like Singapore, speaking 2 languages. Why not? Why these people are against having that in the law? Are they at the end deciding what language Mongolians should know? No. The time requirement is that language. There is no way back. Nobody can change it. It's an issue of timing. So this is my third topic today to share with you. And I covered 3 topics at this review. First, about Mongolian competition ranking, competitiveness ranking. Second, about the new election law amendment. The third, about how important English is for Mongolia. Hope you liked it. And thank you very much for being with me. And see you next week. Thank you.